Understand virtual private cloud. Before we go to virtual private cloud, let's understand AWS Global Infrastructure Map. If you look this map closely, you will see there are 27 geographic regions and 87 availability zone. One geographic region can have multiple availability zones, means multiple data center possible. Let's take an example. We are living in West Coast and we are in Oregon. The data center in Oregon, there may be one data center in Oregon, one may be in Seattle, but that is specific to West geographic location. So if you are talking about the West geographic region in US, that they have two data center, basically two availability zone. So I hope you understand what is the geographic region and what is the availability zone. Now let's talk about the VPC. So if you if you are working in a company or the organization, let's say forget about the cloud. You have on-premise where you are creating a network. Inside the network, you are putting your computers and you are making them safe. So tomorrow hackers or no one can breach security data, no one can take a data, or they can not affect your work. So same kind of design we have to put in cloud. So once we are talking about the AWS, it is a cloud environment. So the physical location or data center in some other place, and we are working some other area. So what we have to do, we have to make sure for our company we have dedicated network. So that's where the VPC concept comes in picture. So basically it's a virtual private cloud kind of network, and inside the network you can create your respective subnet and you can put your machines. You want to create a public subnet, you can create. If you want to create a private subnet, you can create that one. So but the concept is very important. If you see here, the region there is a VPC, and VPC can span across the availability zone. Let's say for example we have 3 data center on that particular region, so VPC can go across. But once you define a subnet inside a availability zone, those subnet cannot span to another availability zone. So basically they are dedicated to on that particular availability zone. So let's deep dive more. So if you go to another diagram, in detailed diagram, right? So if you see here, this is the region, we have the availability zone, the VPC is there, and in one availability zone, we have defined subnet and private subnet. There is a public subnet, then there is a private subnet. And these are connected to the router, and there is an internet gateway to connect with the public internet, and we have the egress. Any outbound traffic that is connecting to the internet, it is going through the egress only internet gateway. So this kind of architecture or design cloud provides, and we have to sit our machine under this kind of architecture. So let's say for example we want to put a web server in public subnet. We can put that web server in the public subnet. If you want to put a database which is very important and where sensitive data is residing, we can put this into the under the private subnet, and then we can align this with the security group. So all kind of inbound and outbound traffic can be controlled. So this is the architecture, high level architecture of the VPC. So but the important point here is that you have to define the IP addresses. We know that we have class A, class B, class C, class D kind of IP addresses. So for any kind of what will be your subnet range, what will be your VPC range, that's something you can go and calculate. Again, this class is not to discuss the networking detail. We are just giving a very high level overview that you can understand through this example. Let's say for example you want to create a VPC. So that is we can go generally 16 is the best, /16 is the best for the organization. So let's say for example this 10.0.0.0/16, that means this VPC can contain 65,536 computers. Now let's say for example I want to create a subnet. So subnet maybe we need very less number of computers. So what we will do, we will increase. As long as you increase the number, your computer range will be down. So let's say for example I go 24 here. So in this 24, what is happening, we can add 256 computer in the one single subnet. So if I go, let's say we are talking about the public and private subnet. Let's say one I can 10.0.1.0/24 we can define for the public subnet. Let's say we are creating a private subnet. Let's go with the 2. So then 10.0.2.0 will be my public private subnet. So if you want to, you don't want this 256 computer range. This is the recommended in organization. Let's say you are doing a local kind of setup, very small organization setup. You just need very limited number of computer, then you can increase this. So let's say you can go with 28. So you will have 16 computer. So this is the CIDR.xyz website where it's giving very high level overview how you can calculate your VPC range and the subnet range, and that is going to help you at least in understanding point of view. But if you want to go in detail, go to the class A, class B, class C and class D and CIDR, how the CIDR gets calculated, you will get a more detail. But couple of things you have to make understand. So before defining any kind of range, let's say you are talking about the subnet, right? So some of the subnet IPs needs to be reserved. So for example, first 4 IP address and the IP address in each subnet CIDR block are not available for your use. Let's say for example your organization want to use, make sure that these are the IP you are not using for your purpose. Let's say 10.0.0.0, this is the network address. 10.0.0.1 reserved by the AWS for VPC routing. 10.0.0.2 reserved for the AWS. So these things you have to take in count. Same way 10.0.0.3 reserved for AWS for the future use. These are some of the networking concept and networking team will let you know in your organization. And you for the basic understanding you just need to know what is the reserved IP ranges are there. If you want to read in detail, go these very good AWS documentation, everything they have written very clearly. Same way we are talking about the VPC. So this is the concept. Sometime interview also ask, right? VPC can be spent to all availability zone in a region. Yes, that is possible. But if you are talking about the specific subnet, it is not possible. So subnet is very specific to availability zone. So I hope you understand the VPC basic concept. Again, these are the very basic concept, and you can go to the AWS site. All these documents are given here. What is the Amazon VPC? You can read through these how Amazon VPC works. If you go down, they have clearly defined what are the main components of the VPC, what is the default VPC, what is the IP addressing. All these things are very clearly written. So the good part of the Amazon is that they have given every bit of the detail in the documentation. I hope this very basic session for the VPC you got a little bit clarity. Thank you for watching.